Welcome back everyone. We get to do another comparison this time around, and it's actually between the iPad 9th generation that came out a couple of months ago and the Samsung Galaxy Tab A8 that literally just came out just a couple of weeks ago. Now when it comes down to both these tablets, it really depends on which ecosystem you're in love with. Do you like Android more? Do you like iOS more? And that's really going to be one of your biggest, differentiating factors between them. In my experience, I do like iOS and iPadOS more, but I love Android. And I will tell you, the Galaxy Tab A8 has actually gotten some improvements from its predecessor. And when I picked up my Tab A8, I was actually pretty happy with a lot of things that the Tab A8 has to offer. And between these two, there are still some pros and cons between them for sure. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these ones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the front of both of these tablets, the iPad 9th generation has that 10.2-inch Retina IPS panel. It's a very high resolution at 1620 by 2160, and it's a pretty good panel. Now, you still have the home button on the screen, you still have a little bit of bezel around it, but I do think the panel itself is really good. Apple did end up bringing True Tone to this display as well, and I'm a humongous fan of this specific display. I think it looks great, and I have very few complaints about it. Now with the Tab A8, on the other hand, you have a 10.5-inch TFT panel. This is a 1200 by 1920 panel, so a little bit less of a resolution, and you do have a less bezel around this panel, which is cool. You have no home button on it either, so you have more screen real estate and a bigger screen, which is nice. However, I do find that the display is still one of those areas that Samsung needs to do a better job with this panel. Samsung makes really good panels, but it seems like they, really kind of focus in more on their, higher end models, such as their Galaxy Tabs, S7s, and especially like their Samsung Galaxy, S series devices. I feel like they need to do a better job with these Tab A8s, the cheaper ones. And this panel still isn't that good. It's just like the A7. So definitely with the panels, the 10.2-inch iPad definitely wins here. Now you have a USB Type-C port on the Tab A8, Lightning port on the iPad, but the Tab A8 does have a microSD card slot, which I actually do like a lot. I love having that type of capability of just expanding that storage, and you have that capability on the Tab A8 where you don't really have that on the iPad, so that's a big thing to keep in mind. Now, the sides of these iPads and tablets are a little bit different too. The iPad has that standard, kind of curved little side, which I've always felt like was very premium, but the Tab A8 has pretty much a flat side on it, and I'm going to tell you, I think the Tab A8 definitely feels much more premium than the 10.2-inch iPad. I was not expecting for the Tab A8 to feel this premium this year, but Samsung did a really big impressive job, and they updated it quite a bit for that build quality. I don't think it's like the craziest thing ever, and there's definitely tablets that feel much more premium than these ones, but it feels more like an iPad Pro, to be honest. So definitely the Tab A8's build quality is really good. You have an aluminum back on both these tablets as well, no wireless charging, no IP certification as far as I can tell either, but both are very premium feeling devices, but the Tab A8 is probably the one I would go to in this sense. Now we might as well go ahead and hit on the cameras. Now both these tablets have 8 megapixel, cameras on the back. On the front though, the iPad 9th generation has that 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, where the Tab A8 has that 5 megapixel sensor. Now the disadvantage here is that the iPad 9th generation can film in more resolutions than the Tab A8. So with the Tab A8, 1080p at 30 on the back, just like how you can do it on the iPad 9. However, on the front, you have a much better front facing camera on the iPad 9 than on the Tab A8. So you have that ultra wide sensor, which allows you to go ahead and take ultra wide photos or videos, but you can also film in 1080p at 60 frames per second. So that is a really big deal. In my opinion, you're getting a much better camera setup than on something like the Galaxy Tab A8. I still think the Tab A8, camera itself has more features built in, but it really isn't that good of a camera. And again, that's kind of a disadvantage here, but I definitely do think when it comes down to both of these, they're good cameras for tablets. I don't think people are going to be using these cameras all that often, but I do think with the iPad 9th generation, Apple did a great job with this front camera, and I'm super happy with it for sure. So in terms of the camera setup, I do think the iPad 9 is probably the winner here, but the Tab A8, at least it has a camera on it, right? Now in terms of the longevity, this is also another very interesting thing between them. I'm not 100% too sure how long the Galaxy Tab A8 is, or how long it's going to last. Maybe it'll last maybe 2 or 3 years in terms of software, and even if that's the case, the iPad 9th generation is still going to outlast something like the iPad 8th generation. So again, that's another big thing to keep in mind. If you end up getting something like the iPad 9, it is probably going to be, getting some more software updates than something like the Galaxy Tab A8. But I still think the Tab A8 is going to be here for another couple of years. It's going to get security updates too, and in terms of features in their OSs, Samsung puts a lot of software features on their Tab A8s and just, Galaxies in general. So that's another really cool advantage of something like the Tab A8, but definitely the iPad 9 is going to outbeat and outlast the Galaxy Tab when it comes down to it. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now in terms of the performance, the iPad 9th generation has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 3GB of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy Tab A8 has that, Unisoc Tiger T618 chipset, I've never heard of it, with 3GB of RAM on that base model and then 4GB of RAM on those top tier models. And here's the thing about these, tablets as well. I definitely do think that the Galaxy Tab A8 is a little bit of a better performing tablet than the Tab A7. I think they did a good job at least increasing the performance a little bit. They definitely increased the build quality. It feels like a much more premium device in my opinion, but the iPad 9th generation, it's almost unfair because it is just such a fast tablet. The iPad 9 I think is the faster and smoother one between these two. I think the software itself also is a little bit of a better experience for me on iOS and iPadOS, so that also could be a little bit of why I think this, but the iPad 9 is a very smooth tablet. Anytime I do anything with it, it's very fast. The performance is great. And I'm just so much more confident, like if I were to use a tablet, of using something like the iPad 9th generation, just because it's very consistent and I know how fast it's going to be when I pick it up. With the Galaxy Tab, I definitely, like I mentioned, I think Samsung could do a better job. They do a great job with their Tab S7s and the Tab S8 that's about to come out. I hear that's about to be really crazy. But with this one, I just don't feel like Samsung, really put in the proper performance chipsets that it needs. With this type of tablet, yes, they're trying to save money here and there, but it really does come at a cost, because when you feel this tablet, you're expecting the performance to be amazing because it feels really premium, but the performance just is pretty lackluster. It's very kind of cheap here, and it doesn't feel as fast as something even like the last iPad generation, the iPad 8 or iPad 7. It's not as smooth, and when I feel something like One UI 4 on my Galaxy S21, that feels much smoother than this. So I don't think it's a One UI problem. I think it's just something that Samsung needs to focus in a little bit more on. They perfected the build quality. They just need to improve on the screen and the performance, and I think these cheaper tablets are going to be really good. But I think in terms of performance, the iPad 9th generation is probably the better one when it comes down to it. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now in terms of battery life, the iPad 9th generation has a 8,557 mAh battery. The Galaxy Tab A8 has a 7,040 mAh battery. And I don't know if one is exponentially way better than the other one. I just know that I've gotten really, really good battery life from my iPad 9th generation. I haven't been using my Galaxy Tab A8 that much, but so far from me using it, it doesn't seem like this battery life is bad. It seems like it's actually really good. And so far, I haven't charged it even one time, and it's still at 80 something percent, or it's over 60%, something like that. And that's a really good battery life on that device too. So I don't think I would pick up one iPad or one tablet over the other one just based off the battery life. But like I said, I have more experience with iPads throughout my life, and I've always had good battery life with those. I'm sure if I use the Galaxy Tab a little bit more, that one probably have better battery life too over the time. So in terms of that covers it up there. And to be completely honest, if I had to pick up one tablet over the other one, I would probably pick up the iPad 9th generation over the Galaxy Tab A8. I think the Tab A8 is a good device, and I think Samsung made some really big improvements from its predecessor. My only issues are pretty much the display. I think Samsung can easily do a better job. I don't understand why they do this. They make such amazing panels, but they still make some weird decisions like this. The build quality is really good. However, I think the performance is another one of those things that Samsung really needs to focus in on. I think in the next 5 years, we're going to start getting, really good Galaxy Tabs from Samsung. I'm just really hoping that they really fix these displays, maybe put an OLED display or IPS panel on it like how iPad does it, and then pretty much go on from there, But I think the iPad 9th generation is a better tablet here, and I think Apple did a really good job with this iPad as well. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.